So John Cuomo.
Well, I hope I can live up to that introduction. Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate that. And thank you, Chief Johnson, for the invitation and the committee for all the work that you've done and for bringing us up here. Your generosity, truly appreciate that very much. I'd like to thank my wife, Kim, as well, and my son, Matthew, for coming along with me, breaking from their business schedule to help me out here. And my other son, Michael, and his wife, my daughter, Tatiana, as well, for their constant support. And I'd love to thank you all very much for taking your precious, precious time to spend some time with me. I wish I could let you feel what an incredible honor it is for me to be up here and talk with you. So thank you. Now, I mean you no disrespect by not having my Class A's on. I just realized I cannot see with my glasses, so maybe that helps. I'll be less nervous. Our department didn't have Class A uniforms, although we asked for quite some time to be able to get some. Towards the end of my career, I received a jacket and a belt, so I thought it would be a little bit distracting if I came up here with no pants on, so decided to wear a suit instead. When people are asked to describe firefighters throughout the 33 years I've asked people, always come up with the same words, and perhaps you hear the same things as well. Strong, brave, courageous, good-looking always. And the biggest one is hero, that I always hear. Now, why does the public see us that way? It's certainly not because every firefighter is perfectly fit or fearless. It's because that's what they need us to be. They need us to be strong. They need us to be courageous. They need us to be the calm in the chaos. Now, you certainly are strong, and you are courageous. And definitely good looking. I've seen that all week. But let me ask you something deeper. Are you a hero? Webster's dictionary defines a hero as a person of distinguished courage or ability, admired for brave deeds and noble qualities. Now, sometimes we forget that second half of the part, noble. So what does noble mean? Noble is defined as an exalted moral or mental character. So put that together, a hero is a person of distinguished courage or ability, admired for brave deeds and an exalted moral and mental character. As a firefighter, you are routinely placed in a position where courage, ability, and moral excellence are required. So that fits the hero part. But you've also been given special powers. What powers? Well, God gave you the body and the mind that you have. Then you receive specialized training. As you're aware, the training for a firefighter is intense. You went through brutal schooling where you were tested mentally, physically, and emotionally. And you continue to train month after month, year after year. In fact, that is the reason why you're here today, to continue your training. And you should be commended for that. In addition, you've been given specialized tools and equipment, gear that protects you from incredible heat where other people can't go, fire, smoke, and hazardous material. Every time I put my bunker gear on, I felt like Superman. I hope that you feel the same. You have the best tools there are to have. Tools and equipment that cut through metal, lift walls, tear open cars, and flow water at incredible pressures and volumes. You have medical equipment that lets you mitigate all kinds of medical problems like difficulty breathing, insulin emergencies, heart attacks, and even bringing someone back to life. And let's be honest, we even have superhero mobiles. That was me 33 years ago, and my wife, a lot skinnier, a lot more hair. With my two loves. I loved my wife more than anything on the world, and I loved my fire engine. Until I had a couple of kids, then the fire engine slipped a little bit, but still one of the loves. What's more beautiful than a fire engine, honestly? All of these additions allow you to be a superhero. And if we are real superheroes, we will be able to serve with pride. Now, what's the difference between a superhero and a villain? One thing, it's how they use their powers. That's it. And now the choice is yours. So you're in a position to perform like a superhero. The people we respond to need you to be that superhero. You've gotten the training to do it, the equipment, and the vehicles. The quintessential firefighter is a superhero. Now let's talk about 5 essential qualities that every superhero must possess. Traits that we as firefighters, given the privilege to serve others, must also embrace if we are to live up to the responsibility we've been given. Today we're going to talk about courage, self-examination, knowing your why, being proactive, and love. So let's start with courage. A real superhero must have courage, that's obvious. Real courage, not the kind that talks big on the sidelines, the kind that moves forward while everyone else is moving out of the way. So let's talk about a few examples of real courage that you're familiar with. September 11, 2001. Firefighters from FDNY climbed the stairs of a 110-story twin tower building with the goal to clear the building of people and extinguish the fire. Floor after floor they climbed, knowing full well that there was a good chance they may never make it out. 343 of our brothers and sisters died that day, saving thousands of others. In 1999, Worcester, Massachusetts, 6 firefighters lost their lives, searching for homeless people that were trapped in a burning warehouse. They went in again and again despite zero visibility and deadly conditions. They never came out alive. On June 30th, 2013, the Granite Mountain Hotshots were overrun by a wildfire in Arizona. A sudden shift in the wind direction trapped the crew in the canyon. 19 died that day, doing what they were trained to do, protecting others. Now, these firefighters did not run a cost-benefit analysis. They weren't heroes because they died. They were heroes because they were willing to risk death to save others. They didn't hesitate. They didn't weigh their risks against their life. They had courage. They served. They acted. That's what superheroes do, serving with pride. In 2020, fire departments in the United States responded to nearly 27 million emergency calls. Some estimates push the number as high as 36 million today. To put that in perspective, there are just over 31 million seconds in a year. That means somewhere in the country, a firefighter is responding to an emergency on average every single second. Think about that. We're answering the call for fires, medical emergencies, hazardous incidents, car crashes, drownings, overdoses, mass shootings, strokes, heart attacks, terrorist attacks, every single second. And yet we never hesitate. We move with purpose, with clarity, with courage. Because that's what we do. That's what makes us more than responders. That's what makes us superheroes. But courage isn't only needed on the fireground. It takes just as much courage, sometimes more, to always do the right thing, to stand alone when it's unpopular, and to relentlessly self-examine with the intent of becoming better than you were yesterday. So let's talk about self-examination. Have you ever heard the saying, with great power comes great responsibility? Most people think of Uncle Ben from Spider-Man. He said that to Peter Parker. And if you know anything about me, I absolutely love Spider-Man comics. I've been collecting them since I was a kid, haven't read any, but I buy it and store it. But that line, with great power comes great responsibility, significantly predates Spider-Man comics. It's been echoed across generations, from Voltaire in the 18th century, Winston Churchill, Supreme Court Justice Elena Kagan, Plato, Thomas Hobbes, John Locke, Teddy Roosevelt, and Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and many, many more. So ask yourself, why did some of the greatest minds in human history repeat that same truth? Because they understood human nature. They knew how easily power, if misused, could lead to destruction. Just look at history. Think of names like Adolf Hitler, Joseph Stalin, Mao Zedong, or Genghis Khan. What did they use their power for? Human suffering, fear, misery. These four men are responsible for the deaths of approximately 200 million people and untold destruction and suffering. You can't even comprehend that kind of destruction. Now juxtapose that to people like Abraham Lincoln, Martin Luther King Jr., Muhammad Gandhi, Harriet Tubman, or Mother Teresa. What did they use their powers for? Unity, justice, dignity, freedom, and compassion. They lifted humanity. You too, as we have shown, have been given great power. You hold the lives of others in your hands on every emergency call. So ask yourself, how sharp are your skills? How well do you know your equipment? How often do you train and study your craft? Do you self-examine to see where you stand in this regard? Are you honest in evaluating where you stand and where you need improvement? If your answer is, I'm proficient in every area that we handle, then I argue you're not self-examining hard enough. Perhaps you're not self-examining at all. We also hold each other's lives in our hands as well. Your brothers and sisters that you serve side by side with in the firehouse, can they count on you? It doesn't matter what your position is. Are you someone the men and women in your house feel like they can count on? Do you give it your all? Are you helping them grow? If you're an officer, are you leading them well? It's not how you think you're leading, it's how they feel that you're leading them. We've got a lot of people who think they're doing great and that they're amazing leaders, but aren't looking inward and aren't that good. Self-examination is the bridge between where you are and who you're meant to be. Let's compare that with high performers in other fields. In sports, when the game's on the line, they don't send in the bench warmers, do they? No, they turn to the Michael Jordans, the Tom Bradys, the Wayne Gretzkys, the ones that give it their all, the game changers. In business, when things aren't going well, they're getting difficult, people don't look to the interns or the new people, they look to the CEO. And what do all those elite performers have in common? They never stop improving. They never stop learning. And they never stop working on themselves. You are not the bench warmers in our country. You are the difference makers. You are the great ones. You are the examples for others to follow. You are the superheroes. I believe that about you. But do you believe that about yourself? If there's even a sliver of doubt, that's where it starts. The most powerful agent for change in the world is you. The best way to uplift your crew, your family, your city, is not to wait on others. It's to self-examine and work on yourself to become better. Not the chief, not the captain, not the city manager, but you. It's easy to point fingers. It's the chief is political. The city's dragging their feet. The captain's playing favorites. The government's a mess. But here's a simple truth. Your life experiences should never be controlled by someone else's actions. If your life depends on other people's actions, you'll never find peace, you'll never progress, and you'll never be great. There will always be somebody doing something wrong. So what does proficiency or greatness and lasting change have in common? They both start with you. Greatness comes from looking in the mirror not out the window. From constant self-examination and the courage to fix the deficiencies. Asking yourself, where do I need help? How can I get better? And then doing the work. Because when you improve you, everyone else benefits. Your crew improves. Your department levels up. Your community thrives. Your family, your kids, your friends all rise with you. It is something truly amazing, and it will change your life. Self-examination is a superpower that allows you to enhance every other quality. Number 3, know your why. Let's start by looking at an example. Hopefully you like the NFL football. January 3rd, 1993, the Buffalo Bills faced the Houston Oilers in the NFL playoffs. The Oilers dominate the entire first half and into the third quarter. Offense, defense, special teams, destroying them. With 8 minutes left in the third quarter, the Oilers are up 35-3. Now, if you know anything about football, you know that that basically is game over, especially since the Bills had their backup quarterback in. Then something shifted. The Bills scored, then scored again. Their defense stepped up. They tied the game, forced overtime, and won. It was the greatest comeback in NFL playoff history. February 6, 2017, the New England Patriots down 28-3 in the third quarter of the Super Bowl against the Atlanta Falcons. Everyone thought it was over. But the Patriots came back, scoring on drive after drive, shutting Atlanta down, tying the game, and winning in overtime. The Falcons didn't lose that game. The Patriots took it back. Now ask yourself, what changed in that game to make it so different? It was the same players. And remember, these aren't high school players. These are the greatest athletes in their profession in the world. It was the same weather, the same field, the same game, the same day. Any motivation before the game was certainly gone by the third quarter. The only thing that changed was what was inside of them. Their inspiration kicked in. These athletes knew their why. They were not going to lose like that, not on a stage that big. They knew who they were. They were the champs. Tom Brady doesn't accept failure because he knows he's the best. He knows he can do better, and neither did the rest of the team. They didn't need motivation. They had routine. They had practiced this until they were the best. So when things kind of got difficult, the proverbial poop hit the fan, it looked like they were going to lose, they turned around and remembered who they were. We're the Buffalo Bills. We don't go out like that. We're the New England Patriots. We are the champs. That's the difference between teams that fold and teams that fight. The difference between a bunch of men who knew their mission, their why, and men who didn't. Philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, I missed that one, sorry, but I said it out loud. Friedrich Nietzsche said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If a person has a strong reason for living, their purpose, their mission, or their meaning, they can endure almost any suffering, challenge, or hardship. This is critical because the life of a firefighter is not an easy one. We just spoke about the difficulties we faced in emergency calls. We run into sheer chaos. We put ourselves between death and our patients. We risk our lives daily. We spoke about the things we must continue to learn, the never-ending changes in the firefighter tactics and tools, the mountain of medical information we must learn and relearn as things continue to change. The scenes that we enter are full of suffering, blood, disfigurement, pain, and death, which become etched in our brain. The smells of blood, burning flesh, vomit, partially digested blood, rotting flesh, are absorbed into our lungs. We have watched people suffer in pain. We have seen crying and begging when at times there is nothing more that we can do to save their partner of 50 years or their child that just drowned in a pool. We hear the guttural screams that stay with us for life. All of these things push us to depression, painful feelings, withdrawal from our loved ones, crying, avoiding certain areas and towns, PTSD, and the number one killer of firefighters, suicide. Then there's the firehouse life, the politics, the sycophants, the city, the fight to get the equipment we need. I think the fire marshal said, beneficial impediment with the city. The fellow firefighters who see our job as just a way to make money, the write-ups, the unfair treatment. Have you ever studied for a promotion for months and months, leaving all your life aside just to prepare for a test, become number one on the list, and get passed over? That is devastating. How do you go back home and tell your wife or husband or partner, your children, your family, your friends, that you got passed over? And what happens if it happens twice to you? If you want to be a superhero, this job will test everything you are. And that's where Nietzsche's wisdom comes in. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. If we have a strong reason for our purpose, our mission, to live a life of a superhero, to serve with pride as a firefighter, we can endure any suffering, any challenge, any hardship. Nothing can break you. Is it possible to get a bottle of water real quick? I apologize, my mouth is as dry as a towel. Let me tell you a quick story. So for about a decade or so, I was a driver engineer, and I was mostly assigned to a truck. Some years on the engine, but mostly assigned to a truck. So I did a lot of training. I would take a lot of the new people out and train them on the ladder truck, teach them how all the tools and how to operate the truck itself. Now, where I worked, we didn't really have a lot of property that we could train on. We had one parking lot in one of our zones that we could train on, but I always preferred to go take them to the beach. Excuse me. I apologize. So I always enjoyed taking the new recruits, the trainees to the beach, and we'd train right there, the beautiful sand, the sun, all the people walking around. It's very nice. In Florida, and it seems like you have it here similar, we get a lot of tourists, a lot of visitors from all over the world and from all over the country. So firefighters that were visiting would come and stop in our firehouses, and we loved it. We'd invite them to dinner all the time and listen to their stories and the things about what they did. So here I am training this gentleman on the beach on a truck that day, and a firefighter comes up, walks up to me and says, hey, he's a retired firefighter from somewhere in the country, I can't remember. And he starts looking over our truck. He was a truckie, he said, but he said he retired. And I said, oh, that's very nice. He goes, yeah, we got a new chief, and he decided that when we entered the condos, instead of pulling in, we had to back in, or vice versa. Instead of backing in, we had to pull in, one of those. I wasn't sure if I heard him correctly, so I asked with confusion. I said, you left because you left the greatest job on earth? Because of the way you had to pull in a truck into the condo? Now, I kind of understand it isn't easy because we had a lot of condos in one of our zones, and it's very tight. It's not built for massive fire trucks, and the parking is never there either. But I was really surprised. I couldn't understand that. And I'll tell you about two other people that I knew. When I got hired, the internet wasn't really around, dinosaurs and all those other things. So we did have a computer, but it was kind of like a paperweight, didn't really do much. Then the internet slowly came in, and we had to do a lot more things. Emails, reports, all these other things started coming to us. Well, one of the fellow firefighters said, I didn't get hired to play on a computer, and he decided to leave. And another firefighter, when we opened up to our customers, our city, to do blood pressures in our house. We encouraged them to show up if they had any issues, wanted their blood pressure taken. He said he doesn't take blood pressures, and he left. Do these individuals give you the impression that they went way above and beyond on calls? Do they seem like the kind of people who would run into danger for their brother and sister? Do they sound like the firefighter that trains relentlessly? Do you think that they made a great impression on others about the fire service? I think the answer to all those questions is a resounding no. I don't think that they were superheroes. They didn't understand what our job is about. They did not serve people with pride. They didn't have a noble why. Perhaps they were there just for the money. And that is why something so trivial could cause them angst and for them to leave such a noble profession. So if you have your why, if it's inside of you, know your why, and it will lift you through those hard years. Know your why, and it will pull you out of the dark periods. Know your why, and it will remind you why you got into this. Know your why, and it will help make you a superhero. And the world desperately needs superheroes right now. Number 4, superheroes are proactive. Becoming a firefighter took a huge amount of schooling and training. In most parts of the country, it's not just fire calls. You're expected to respond to medical calls as well. So that means becoming either a first responder, an EMT, or a paramedic, on top of being a firefighter. That's a lot of additional schooling, training, and studying. After you get hired, now you're on probation for a year. More training, more studying. How many of you here, after that probation year, feel like that was the peak of your firefighter skills and abilities? Anyone? I didn't think so. I thought I knew something, I thought I was special, but I realized I didn't know anything. Let's put that in perspective. Would you go to a doctor that hasn't learned anything new since med school? One who scrolls Facebook or Instagram or dating apps in between patients on nights and weekends? Of course not. You'd want someone who's committed to the mastery of his craft, who's always sharpening their skills, learning new treatments, staying on the cutting edge. Why? Because your life depends on them. Well, guess what? Other people's lives depend on us. So the truth is, we can never stop learning. The minute we stop training and learning is the minute that we start falling behind. Why? Because life will never stop throwing new emergencies at us. And we can't afford not to be proactive. We can't afford not to be ready for the next new thing, because other people's lives depend on us. We can't let what is going on outside the fire department or inside the fire department stop us from doing the best job, from becoming proactive. Nothing and no one should ever prevent you from giving a hero's response. In February 1919, a humble man named Desmond Doss was born. After the attack on Pearl Harbor, he enlisted in the U.S. military right in the middle of World War II, the greatest conflict the world had ever seen. But there was a problem. Desmond Doss was a conscientious objector. Because of his Christian beliefs as a Seventh-day Adventist, he refused to carry or use a weapon. Can you imagine? In the middle of a war, surrounded by men with rifles, machine guns, grenades, flamethrowers, tanks, he walked into battle with nothing but his medic bag. He endured ridicule, beatings and threats from his own brothers in arms, his fellow soldiers. They tried everything to get him to leave. They didn't want him there. They felt that if he wasn't going to carry a weapon into battle, that he would cower on the battlefield. But he didn't quit. He stayed true to his purpose, his mission, his why. He ran alone into enemy fire to rescue the wounded. He treated injuries under gunfire. He carried men to safety through hellish combat. During the Battle of Okinawa, military units had to climb a 150-foot cliff to battle the enemy because the Japanese had set themselves up on the high ground. Once the American units climbed that cliff and got up there, they would move forward to engage the enemy. Repeatedly, they were pushed back by the enemy and back down the cliff. When Doss's unit received the same assignment, they climbed the cliff, they engaged the enemy, the same as others. And they too were attacked and forced back down the cliff. Except Mr. Doss, he chose to stay up there. He moved silently through the rest of the day and night, searching for the wounded, constantly asking God to let him find just one more, avoiding the enemy. And one by one, he carried injured men to the cliff's edge, and lowered them down 150 feet. That night, he saved 75 men, alone. I highly recommend you read his life story or even watch the movie Hacksaw Ridge. Very encouraging. Has anyone here ever been to the Statue of Liberty? A few people ever climbed it on the inside, not the outside? Okay, a few. So the Statue of Liberty, the biggest response I've ever heard when I went at the Statue of Liberty myself is people say they were exhausted by the time they got up to the top. The Statue of Liberty is 305 feet tall. Desmond Doss lowered 75 different men, some of whom have mocked him and abused him, down a cliff half the height of the Statue of Liberty. Not once, not twice, but 75 times. And the men who once hated him, who thought he was a coward, they started to refuse to go into battle unless Desmond Doss was there to care for them and to pray for them. That's not courage, that's heroism. He didn't let hate, fear, or pressure change him. He remembered his mission, his purpose, his why. He was a superhero, and he served with pride. For his actions, Mr. Doss was awarded the Medal of Honor, which is the highest U.S. military honor awarded for heroism on Okinawa, where he saved 75 men under fire. 2 Bronze Stars with Valor, 2 awards for Valor in action in Guam and Leyte, where he carried wounded men to safety under fire. 3 Purple Hearts for wounds received in combat, where he was wounded several times rescuing people. And multiple campaign and service medals, including the Presidential Unit Citation, with 1 Bronze Service Star, Good Conduct Medal, American Campaign Medal, Asiatic Pacific Campaign Medal with 3 Bronze Service Stars, World War II Victory Medal, Philippine Liberation Medal with 1 Bronze Service Star. Desmond Doss was a superhero. Desmond Doss was proactive. He was ready to do his job. He was courageous. He self-examined, and he made sure he was ready for his job. He knew his why, and he lived it. He served with pride. But there was something else he did, something else that superheroes have, and that is love. So number 5, let's talk about love. There is no quality greater on earth than love. It is the greatest gift to us, and it is the greatest gift that we can give to others. Viktor Frankl, he's a neurologist, psychologist, and philosopher. He survived 3 years in Auschwitz and Dachau concentration camps. He literally lived and watched the hate and evil of humankind. He wrote the book, Man's Search for Meaning, which I also highly recommend you read. Excellent book. In it, he highlights his observations about humanity. Did he talk about the hate that he experienced? This is what he said. He said, love is the ultimate and highest goal to which man can aspire. He added, the salvation of man is through love and in love. In his book, All Men Are Brothers, another book I recommend, Muhammad Gandhi, a man who faced deep indignities and racism, wrote, love is the strongest force the world possesses, and yet it is the humblest imaginable. For those of Jewish and Christian beliefs, the Lord gave us 2 commands. Love your God with your whole heart and mind and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Why? Because as he brings out further, love never fails. And rock guitarist Jimi Hendrix, just to add a little mix in there, once said, when the power of love overcomes the love of power, the world will know peace. There is nothing that you can do that is greater than showing love to others. But why is love important to firefighters? As firefighters, we have the unique privilege to respond to people and help them when they're in a crisis. We fix their emergencies. But don't just fix the emergency. Show them love. Treat your patients the way you would treat your own loved ones if they had an emergency. Let them feel your concern, your kindness, your compassion. Give them the kind of customer service they never expected, the kind that makes them remember the service they received over their emergency. When you have work to correct the emergency, take an extra second. Stop and think, how can I go above and beyond? If you truly love humanity, the ideas will come to you. More importantly, as firefighters, love your brothers and sisters. It seems we're always battling with the city. Again, I heard it here again this morning, over what we earn, our benefits, for better equipment or stations, for better mental and physical care. Then there are the taxpayers that sometimes seem to complain a bunch about our pay or our time off or going to the store on duty and so many other things that could be exhausting at times. But who are our worst enemies? Who hurts us the most? It is we ourselves, our brothers and sisters. The gossip, the rumors, the backstabbing, the jealousy, the lazy ones, the ones that fear others progressing too quickly, the sycophants who play politics while others put in the work. We in the fire service are often the ones damaging our own morale, our own careers, our own progress. We have to come together. We have to set the example of love first and foremost to our brothers and sisters in the fire service. Desmond Doss took the abuse showered upon him by those he served with side by side. What did he do? He didn't act the way they acted towards him. He didn't retaliate. He instead set an example of love, and he won them over. He had no idea how they would respond. He just lived his why and showed his love. The result? They came to see how wrong they were about him. They came to see that he didn't lack courage. In fact, he had more courage than all of them. They came to love him, and not just him, but a greater love for each other. That is the power of love. We can do the same, because remember, love never fails. It takes a lot to be a superhero, doesn't it? It takes a lot to continually, throughout our career, serve with pride. We've highlighted many, many challenges today and many difficulties. Is it worth it? I think you would agree with me that the answer is a resounding yes. Russian novelist Dostoevsky once wrote, "There is only one thing that I dread, not to be worthy of my sufferings." He was pointing to the idea that we cannot always control whether suffering comes into our life, but we can control how we respond. To suffer with courage, with humility, with dignity and pride makes the suffering worthy because it transforms pain into growth and service to others. To respond with bitterness or despair, on the other hand, diminishes its potential meaning. Now, whether you want to be a superhero or not, you chose a profession that put these difficulties upon you. You are going to experience all the pains and sufferings that come with our job. You cannot stop it. So you have two opportunities. One, to become bitter and full of despair. Or two, to face the difficulties with courage, humility, dignity, and pride, and it will transform the pain into growth and service for others. If you do the latter, the benefits of all of this work will come back to you greater than you can ever imagine. I promise that to you. We all have this one life to live. Which road will you take? What will you do with this life of yours? What will you make out of it? At the end of your days, will you be happy and satisfied, or will you be disappointed, angry, bitter, and full of despair? It is said that hell is when the person you are meets the person you could have been. You don't want to end up there. It's not a good place, especially at the end of your days. Motivational speakers Les Brown and Jim Rohn have often taught about this truth. They've said, if you do what is hard, your life will be easy. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard. Let's illustrate that point together. How many of us have ever dreamed about winning the lottery? There was just is the Powerball up here? Is that? No? Okay. There was just a Powerball somewhere in the country, $1.8 billion. That could certainly change your life, huh? maybe bring some happiness. Well, have you ever heard of the lottery curse? Lottery winners have not found much happiness. The study found that 70% of winners are broke within the first few years. Imagine that, a few years. Marriages and family relations become strained and fail. Winners feel used rather than loved, so it erodes all their trust in all their relationships. Winners report that they don't know who their real friends are anymore. They become targets for scams, fraud, and even violent crime. Depression, anxiety, and substance abuse often rise after sudden wealth. Now, why is this the case when people struggle their whole life to make enough money just to live a comfortable life? It is because they thought money would make them whole, that it would bring happiness and satisfaction, but they didn't find purpose. They didn't find love. Now, what does this have to do with the fire service? Everything. Because you already have something worth far more than money. You've been given a chance to serve others, to be a superhero, to be a light in their darkest moments. And the simple truth is, serving others brings the greatest happiness. It gives meaning to our struggles. And while that is in itself a tremendous gift, this isn't just about service. It's about purpose. It's about long-lasting happiness and satisfaction. You know, people have wrestled their entire life, or even for centuries, with the question, what is the meaning of life? Neurologist and founder of psychoanalysis Sigmund Freud said that the purpose of life is the pursuit of pleasure. He's known as the sex guy. But we've all seen that people chasing every single pleasure imaginable and wind up miserable. Worse, actually, than those that aren't chasing every pleasure. Psychotherapist Alfred Adler said that the purpose of life is the pursuit of power. But we all know what happens with unchecked power. Power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Now, these people in power are far from happy. I think that's pretty obvious. But Viktor Frankl, again, a man who saw the worst of humanity, still found purpose in that situation. Between his struggles for years in concentration camps and seeing thousands of patients, he said he brought out what the true meaning of life is. 3 different places you can find it. Number 1, work. Not just any work, but meaningful work. Is there anything more meaningful than what you do? You save lives. You restore order from chaos. You fix people's emergencies every single day. The second area, he said, was love, caring for others, giving yourself to others. You are given this privilege, this opportunity every single day. Do you approach your job with deep care and love for those that you serve? And finally, he said courage during difficult times. Well, who runs into burning buildings when others are running out? You. Who risks their lives for strangers? You. Who keeps doing the right thing even when the city treats us wrong or our own fellow firefighters hurt us? You. You have the ability to participate in all 3 of those areas. When you live that way, with purpose, with love, with courage, you actually receive the greatest gifts of all. You find your true self. You find peace. You find happiness. You find pride, not ego, a deep internal pride that says, I know who I am, I love who I've become. That is an amazing feeling. What a gift. You have been given the greatest privilege any person can ask for. You are a firefighter. If you do this right and always try to do the right thing, when that day comes at the end of your career, at the end of your life, you will look back not with regret, but with deep joy, because you didn't waste your shot, your life. You became the person that you were meant to be. Now, my goal here today is not to motivate you. My goal is to inspire you. There is a difference. Motivation can be fleeting. It's an hour-and-a-half movie. It's a theory. It's a high you get from a good speech or a new book or an energy drink. It gives you a short burst, but then it burns out just as fast. Motivation might get you to the top of one mountain, but when you see that there are 5 more summits in the distance, that's where motivation runs out. Inspiration, on the other hand, it's a lifestyle. It doesn't come from me or anyone else. It comes from you, from deep inside. When you are truly inspired, something shifts. Inspiration ignites transformation. You don't just change temporarily, you change permanently. You start living with intention, and no obstacle can keep you from your path. When you reach the top of the first summit, the first mountain, and see 5 more ahead, you don't quit. You get moving because the summit isn't the end. It's just the next challenge, and nothing can keep you from your final goal. Let me paint it another way. I could play a hype video, firefighters kicking down doors, pulling people from flames, training really hard, add in some heart-pumping music, raise the tone of my voice and the speed. You'd feel unstoppable, right? You've seen those videos. I saw Chief Sean Weisner's picture of 2 firefighters fighting a fire yesterday, just on a picture, and I was ready to rip off, put some bunker gear on and run in there and do something. But what happens when the music stops? When the adrenaline fades and life hits you in the gut? The city denies your raises. Your benefits are cut. A patient you gave everything to sues you. You get passed over for a promotion because maybe you're not part of a clique. Your partner is struggling at home. Your kid is sick again. Someone at the station you trusted just stabbed you in the back. And suddenly, the motivation is gone. It doesn't pay the bills. It doesn't heal your kid. It doesn't rebuild the trust in others. It doesn't get you that promotion. But inspiration endures. When you're inspired, when you have a clear why, a vision for your life, a purpose, when you know who you are and follow a routine that reflects it, those problems become bumps in the road, not roadblocks. You keep moving because you know where you're headed. How do you become inspired? I believe there are 3 key elements. Number 1, start with knowing your why, something we've discussed a little bit. You need a purpose, a clear direction. Where are you going? What drives you? For us in the fire service, it is the noble pursuit of becoming better for ourselves, for those we serve, and for those who look to us as an example. Work in a meaningful way. Care deeply about others. Always be courageous. That why must be bigger than any paycheck or any promotion or which way you pull a truck into a condo building. It must be rooted in service, in growth, in pride, in the legacy we want to leave behind us. Number 2, know who you are. You're not just a firefighter, you're a superhero. But how do you start believing that? By putting in the work day after day, week after week, and eventually the results will speak louder than any compliment ever could. Think back to who you were when you first joined the fire service. Are you stronger mentally now? Wiser? More confident in your skills and presence? Of course you are. Now imagine what happens if you stay committed to improving every single day. You will become the hero that you were born to be, and you'll pursue your why with conviction. And that means your life will be full of meaning. And number 3, you don't need motivation, you need routine. Motivation comes and goes. Discipline, showing up day in and day out, that's what transforms you. This journey isn't a 90-minute movie, it's a lifetime. Routine becomes the forge, and it's in that daily fire that greatness is built. So in conclusion, today, perhaps more than ever, our country needs heroes, desperately. Not just to fight the ravages of fire, hazardous materials, or car crashes. Not just to mitigate the difficulties of time, aging, heart attacks, strokes, falls, and more. Not just to help combat the evil of terrorism, school shootings, murders, stabbings, hate, and more. We need heroes for all of that, but so much more. We need heroes because our nation is divided. Some say more than any other time since the Civil War. We are facing a crisis of character. I am not pointing the finger at anyone or any individuals. You see, we don't need any more finger pointers. We have tons of that. Now is the time more than ever our country needs superheroes, not only to mitigate the emergencies that we just brought out, but to set the example to bring us back together as one nation. E pluribus unum, out of many, one. That is our nation's motto. Does it feel like we are a nation of one right now? There are over 1 million firefighters in this country, both paid and volunteer. That's an incredible force of potential influence for change. Imagine if all of us leaned in for our power of good, for unity, for love. Do not underestimate the power of one person for change. Desmond Doss didn't have to stay on that ridge. He could have come down and still been hailed a hero. But he went the extra step, alone all night, pulling wounded men from among the dead, dragging them to safety. He didn't just save lives, he unified a fractured group of men, a band of brothers by his example. He ignited them, he inspired them. He set an example that we echoed throughout history. That's the effect of true leadership, the effect of a hero, the effect of one courageous firefighter, one courageous person choosing to go above and beyond for others. Now, next week, you'll leave here and you'll go back to your home cities, and you'll be back on duty. You may respond to a fire, a wreck, or a heart attack, and you'll act courageously, I have no doubt. But today I challenge you. Don't just do your job. Take the extra step. Always serve others with pride, because we all need you. Your family needs you. Your crew needs you. Your city needs you. And yes, your country needs you. And if we can get our country back on track, we can once again be the light to the world. We can set the example for the rest of the world. You've heard JFK's inaugural speech when he said, "Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country." Would you say that that is how people think today? Be the superhero that sets the example, the one who asks what he or she can do for their country, the one who teaches others not just how to live, but how to serve. President Theodore Roosevelt, an extraordinary man who accomplished so much against all odds, once gave a speech in 1910 called Citizenship in the Republic. A portion of that speech has become famously known as the man in the arena. I read this to you today because this is who you are. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, you, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory or defeat. That is you. You are that man. You are that woman. You are the one in the arena. You are a superhero. I say to you, continue to progress, heroes. Soak up everything you can while you are here. Network, meet people. Talk to your instructors, ask them questions. If you don't understand something, ask again. They want to help you. Instill what you've learned deep within you. Then go back to your departments and share it with others. Train your crew. Read books, watch videos, get better. Train, train, train. Make it your routine. Next year, come back to this conference and bring somebody with you. Make the Alaskan Fire Conference the greatest fire service gathering in the country. And maybe, just maybe, master a skill so well that you can come back as an instructor and teach others. Or maybe you film a video and put it online to help firefighters all over the country. Whatever you do it with humility and a deep desire to serve others. The stage is set, the world is watching, and the fire service, it needs you now more than ever. This is the greatest job on earth, by far. We save lives. We bring order to chaos. We extinguish evil. We do all things with courage and kindness, gentleness and strength, love and understanding. But please know this, the fire service, as great as it is dead without you. You are the fire service. You are its blood. You are the gift to our nation. Never forget, you are our superheroes. Now, go out there and change the world. Thank you so much for your time and attention. Thank you for your service to your community and to our great country. You are indeed my heroes, and I will pray for you always. May God bless you, and may God bless your families.